Look at the sheer expanse of the Australian outback, an endless ocean of red dust. But push out to the coasts, and that void abruptly ends in some of the most hyper-developed, glowing metropolises on the planet. This map shows the raw scale of the Australian landmass. As the world's sixth largest country, it easily swallows other global regions. But plotting population data reveals a massive void. Points cluster on the extreme edges, yielding a density of just 3.4 people per square kilometer. That creates a deep geographic paradox. Australia is the flattest, driest inhabited continent on the planet, yet it exists as a mega-diverse biological hotspot, boasting one of the highest gross domestic products and standards of living in the world. So how exactly did deep-time ecosystems, ancient cultures, and a modern superpower find a way to function in such extreme geographic isolation? This tectonic map shows the geological root of Australia's extreme isolation. Roughly 35 million years ago, the Australian plate snapped off from the Gondwana supercontinent and drifted north, severing its biological ties to the rest of the globe. Without cross-pollination from other landmasses, the ecosystem evolved in a vacuum. Today, 93% of the continent's reptiles and 69% of its mammals are endemic, meaning they naturally exist nowhere else on Earth. Take the kangaroo. Marsupials are a biological response to Australia's nutrient-poor plants and highly variable rainfall. Hopping actually requires less energy than running, allowing them to traverse vast arid distances to find food. The human story is just as deep. Aboriginal Australians arrived by sea 50,000 to 65,000 years ago, establishing what is now the oldest continuous living culture on the planet. They survived the harsh environment by actively managing it. Aboriginal groups utilized practices like fire stick farming, the intentional, controlled burning of landscapes to clear underbrush, prevent larger, destructive wildfires, and promote the growth of specific edible plants. We can see the unbroken visual record of this coexistence with the environment. Ancient Aboriginal rock art serves as a physical archive of their deep ecological knowledge and connection to the native fauna. Extreme geographic isolation did not stifle life here. It acted as an evolutionary pressure cooker, forging a highly specialized ecosystem and a uniquely durable society. Moving inland, the physical reality of the continent is punishing. Roughly 70% of the Australian mainland is composed of arid or semi-arid desert, characterized by endless, flat red dirt and extreme temperatures. But right off the coast, the environment flips. The Great Barrier Reef stretches for 2,300 kilometers, creating an explosion of marine life that sharply contrasts with the dry red center. This geographic reality strictly dictated European colonization after 1788. The inhospitable interior essentially forced both the early penal colonies and subsequent free settlers to build entirely on the fertile coastal fringes. This heat map illustrates the modern demographic result of that history. We call it the coastal squeeze. The massive population density wraps almost exclusively around the eastern and southeastern seaboard, leaving the rest of the country highly sparse. Millions of people are packed into a handful of coastal megacities, places like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Perth. This geographic constriction created a highly urbanized populace. The international stereotype of the rugged, bush-dwelling Australian surviving the outback is largely a myth. Geography forced Australians to become one of the most highly urbanized, coastal-dwelling societies on the planet. The foundation of Australia's modern economic wealth relies on that harsh interior. Massive extraction operations mine and export natural resources, feeding the rapid economic growth of the Asia-Pacific. But the engine of the country is its people. Following the Second World War, Australia abandoned its restrictive racial policies and welcomed a massive global wave of immigration to build its workforce. This bar chart compares Australia's demographics against other major Western nations. Today, 30% of the Australian population is foreign-born, giving it the highest proportion of immigrants among its global peers. Managing this diverse, wealthy nation requires a unique political system known as the Westminster mutation. This is a hybrid government structure that blends the United Kingdom's parliamentary traditions with the United States model of federalism. The seat of this federal parliamentary constitutional monarchy is located here at Parliament House in Canberra, and it operates on a curious civic paradox. Australian culture is globally famous for its relaxed egalitarianism and mateship, yet it legally enforces a highly strict mandatory voting system for all adult citizens. This democratic participation is inescapable. Whether at home, at work, or hitting the slopes on holiday, casting a ballot is a strict legal requirement. Australia's modern success is engineered by a pragmatic balance: aggressive resource extraction funding a multicultural society, all held together by an enforced, unified civic duty. Australia represents a long-term study in survival through specialization. The landscape demanded resilience, and every biological and human system that survived here had to adapt to those demands. The country grew from an isolated penal colony into a high-income multicultural hub. Using the resource wealth from the interior to build landmarks like the Opera House, a modern society expanded onto the edge of the habitable world. Ultimately, Australia took its greatest geographic vulnerabilities, crushing isolation and a highly arid climate, and turned them into its primary strategic assets. By leveraging its unique biodiversity, concentrated coastal population, and engineered economy, Australia proves that extreme environments often forge highly successful